Have you ever done something? You've been going along and maybe you did something or you said something. And then all of a sudden you thought, oh, God saw that. Well, imagine that. Guess what? We act like we're surprised sometimes when that happens, don't we? We act like he just kind of just walked in unannounced, don't we? It's kind of like if your boss shows up on his day off. He shows up on his day off and you said, I didn't know you were coming in today. It's the kind of way we treat God sometimes. We think that he's not supposed to be there. But then God will tell us, he says, I didn't know I ever left. I never left you. One of the greatest needs in the Christian life is not more information. It's not a better pastor or a better teaching or more theologically correct. Maybe not somebody that can pronounce all their words all the time. But is a deeper and more intense awareness of God. The Bible's, we know Bible verses. We know church language, don't we? We know how to behave in church, most of us. But the question is simple. Are we aware of the presence of God in our daily lives? Have we forgotten him? Have we gotten so busy, so caught up in living that we have forgot that God is right there every day, every minute, every second, all the time? He hears everything. He sees everything. He knows everything that's going on. One of the greatest enemies of spiritual awareness is not sin. Let me say it again. One of the greatest enemies of spiritual awareness is not sin. It's distraction. We can work for God and still miss him. We can serve in the church and still ignore his closeness, that he's right here. Distraction has multiplied over the years. We live in an age with constant notifications, don't we? Our phone may whistle at us. It may sound like a train. Our watches. I heard something the other day. I didn't know exactly what this noise was. I went in the bedroom and it was Katie's watch. I bought it for her, but I never heard it before. It's a dinging and a danging and a going on, and I have no idea what it is. Our cars beep at us, chirp at us, whatever. They do all kinds of things. Our microwaves buzz, a bing, a ding. Katie's got a new stove that she's had almost a year. She cannot figure the thing out. It's got so many different buttons and stuff on it, and it's a propane stove. She don't even know how to turn the timer off. She can get it going, but she can't get it off. And it'll just sit there and ding at her all the time. But we're surrounded by constant notifications. And distractions. We can hardly sit still long enough to recognize God. Psalms 46:10, the very first part of this, still says, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice what that does not say. It doesn't say be busy and know. It doesn't say be stressed and know, does it? Or be scrolling on your phone and know. No, it says be still. Be still and know. Many believers live as if God is sometimes present instead of constantly present. We believe God is in church. We believe He's in heaven. We believe God is around during emergencies, don't we? But the truth is, God is always present. Whether we are aware of Him or not, the problem isn't God's presence. The problem is our awareness of it. Psalms 139, verse 7, verse 8. It says, "I never can escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down in the grave, you are there." God is not far off. God is not distracted. He's not missing in action, is He? He's here. Do we believe that? When we as believers become aware of God's presence, it changes how we live, how we worship, how we suffer, and how we serve. You see, one of the misunderstandings in Christianity is that God's presence depends on how we feel. If the music is good, God is present. If the preacher is batting .500, God is present. If the coffee is strong that morning, God is in attendance, isn't He? Preacher once said, "We act as if the Holy Spirit is a motion-activated light. If we behave right, He comes on. If we mess up, He shuts off." But that's not how God works, is it? Some of us treat God like Bluetooth. We say, "Lord, are you connected?" And God will say, "I never disconnected. You just muted me." You see, feelings, not fillings, feelings, okay? Had to get my language straight there, are unreliable. They change with sleep. They change with the weather. They change with our blood sugar. They change even with football scores, don't they? But God's presence is not based on emotions. It's not based on feelings. It's based on promise. Jesus said in Matthew 28, verse 20, the last part of that, He says, "Be sure this, that I am with you always, even to the end of the earth. Not sometimes. Not when we behave. Not when we sing on the right key. But always. We may not feel him, but he's there. We may not sense him, but he's there. We may not recognize him, but he's there. Have you ever been looking for your glasses while they were on your head? Now, don't sit there all holier than thou. I know you have. You've walked through the house looking for them, hollering, "Where are my glasses?" You go out and you check in the car, you look in the garage on your workbench and see. You even look at the dog and say, "Dog, where's my glasses?" Your spouse is trying not to say anything. The whole time the kids are videoing it for social media. But that's exactly how many Christians live in God's presence. We say, "Lord, where are you?" And God says, "You mean right here? I've been right here the whole time." And we keep asking, "God, where are you?" And God will say, "You're asking the wrong question. I'm here. Where are you?" When we know God is present, we're never alone. Loneliness is not the absence of people. Some people like being away from people. But being alone is not the absence of people. It is the absence of awareness. When we become aware of God's presence, it changes how we face everything. Not because our problems disappear, but because we no longer face them alone. David said in Psalms 23, verse 4, and everybody can probably say it without even looking at it on the screen. "Even when I walk through the darkest valleys, I will not be afraid because you are right there beside me." Notice David didn't say that God would remove the valley, did he? He said that he was in the valley with him. God doesn't promise us a pain-free life. He promises a present-filled life. Some of us are walking through valleys right now. Some of us are walking through emotional valleys. Maybe we're walking through financial valleys. Maybe we're walking through health valleys, family valleys. But David didn't say that I will fear no evil because I'm strong. He didn't say I will fear no evil because I understand everything. He said I will not be afraid. I will not be afraid because, God, you're right here. You're right here. Me and you, shoulder to shoulder. You're walking with me through everything that I go through. The enemy goes around all the time, whispering in our ear, God has left the building. God has left the building. But God whispers back, I'm closer than you think. You see, God doesn't leave the building. God doesn't leave the building. A little boy was afraid of going to sleep one night. And his dad told him, he said, son, don't be afraid, don't worry. He says, God's right here with you. The boy replied, he said, yeah, I know, Dad. But I need somebody with some skin on. You see, sometimes we feel that way. You know what the truth is? The God with skin has already came. He's already came, and his name is Jesus. And Jesus promised his Spirit that would never leave us. So some of us pray, oh Lord, remove this problem. Lord, remove that person. Remove this upcoming meeting that I may have, or this upcoming test, or this upcoming trial that I'm going to face with in my life. And God's answers, more often than not, is no. But he said, I'll do you one even better. He says, I'll walk with you. Right there through it. You see, we want that divine eraser, don't we? Something that will remove everything. You know, they got those little white deals. They call them erasers, don't they? Not white. No, the white erasers used on the shower and the sinks and all that other stuff. Supposed. A what? Magic. There you go. Maybe that's what we want. As Christians, we want a magic eraser. Where was you at when I was writing this? We want a magic eraser. So we can, when we come against those sins and those problems or those things that we don't want to face, we can take that magic eraser and we can just do away with them. It'll remove everything, won't it? That's not the way it works, is it? That's not what we do. God gives us, he don't give us a magic eraser. He gives us divine companionship. When we know God is present, we pray in a different way. We suffer in a different way. We respond in a different way. And we forgive in a different way. You see, we don't know how powerful and amazing and impressive it is to be faithful. We just have to be aware. If we truly believe that God was present with us, it would change how we act. We are careful what we would say around certain people. We would behave different when authority was nearby. You see, imagine if every time we were tempted to sin, a voice would say, God is standing here watching. Would we say, oh, wait, he is? Proverbs 15, verse 13. 15, verse 3, I'm sorry. It says, the Lord is watching everywhere, keeping his eyes on what? Both the evil and the good. He just don't look at the good things. He just don't look at the bad things. He keeps his eyes on both of them. Now, this verse is comforting to a lot of people. And it's terrifying to others. You see, some Christians treat God like that spiritual mute button. They say, God, don't listen to this conversation. God, look away for a few minutes. God, you wait here in the truck. I'll be back. You know, it's a lot of times we'll do that. We won't say, well, I'll just leave my Christianity here for a little bit, and God, you wait right here. I'll be back. But God doesn't step out of the room. God doesn't turn his head. God doesn't stay in the truck. Living aware of God's presence doesn't make us paranoid. It makes us holy. It reminds us that our words matter. It reminds us that our attitudes matter. It reminds us that our private actions matter. You see, we don't need to install the latest version of the accountability software when we live with God, with a God consciousness. Awareness of God's presence brings courage. It's like having a big brother for backup, isn't it? When you know God is with you, fear loses its grip. Now, some of us had to grow up without a big brother. I had a big sister. I mean, everything I got into, my big sister was going to be right there with me. I know it ain't very manly to some of y'all, but when it was me, I was very encouraged with that. I was glad to have a big sister that would have my back. You see, Moses was terrified. He was terrified when he had to face Pharaoh. Joshua was afraid to lead the Israelites. Gideon felt weak, didn't he? So he told the angel, who am I? I'm the weakest one among my tribe. He felt inadequate. But God didn't give them confidence in themselves. He gave them confidence in his presence, that he would be there and that he would have their back. That's why God told Joshua in chapter 1, verse 9, he said, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So courage is not the absence of fear. It is awareness of a God who is greater than any fear that we have. Have you ever noticed that little kiddos, you ever noticed how brave they get when mom and dad shows up? Or do they just get worse? They've been crying and crying and crying for about the last 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever. Mom and dad shows up, and all of a sudden it stops. And they'll say, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm okay. All the while they're about to pull their mom and dad's pants leg off. You know, they're brave when mom and dad's there. So that's what happens when God shows up in our awareness. We're fine as long as we got a hold of his leg. We may still be scared, but we're fine. We know that whose leg we got a hold of, don't we? You see, I told y'all last week that during prayer, or prayer nights that we have, that God will speak to me, and I will jot things down. And last week, that's where you got that message from, and that's where you get this one from this week. I mean, I got it from the same night. I jotted 3 things down. I got one more left, and then whether God speaks to me and tells me to share that with you next week or not, I do not know. We'll just have to see. You see, but worship, during a time of worship and prayer, it changes when we realize God is already in the room, doesn't it? When I walked in here this morning, I mean, everything was a buzzing and y'all were talking and a visiting and everything. And then we started slowly bringing y'all down with the countdown. And then once worship started. And when I eventually made my way up to the front up here, and I'm sitting here, and it's loud, yeah. But I can hear y'all singing. And I've told you this before, it blesses my heart when I can hear y'all worship. And yeah, it helps when that worship leader picks songs that y'all know. But on the other hand, it's still, when y'all worship, when we worship, when you worship, it changes things. When you realize that God is here, when God is in the room. See, because we don't gather with others, with each other, to invite God. We gather to recognize him. God doesn't arrive when the music starts. He doesn't leave when I say, bless you, have a great week. Some people worship like that, like when they're at a concert. They may wait for the right song. They may criticize that worship leader for picking the songs that he picks, that he puts on there every week. They decide if they felt anything. But worship is not about the atmosphere. I mean, we could have no music at all. We could leave the lights as bright as we wanted them to be. if we all knew and were aware of God's presence, we could have the most wonderful time of worship. Because having that awareness is what makes the difference. You see, Jacob said in Genesis 28, verse 16, he says, surely the Lord is in this place. And I wasn't even aware of it. How many times do we do that? How many times do we go through life, like I said, when we're going through the busyness of life, and we go through it and we leave God in the truck? Or maybe we forget that He's actually right there with us. That statement that God is in this place and we weren't even aware of it. That statement could describe many churches today. God is here. We just didn't notice. When we become aware of God's presence, singing becomes surrender. Prayer becomes conversation. Preaching becomes an encounter. You see, God is not just present in spiritual moments. He is present in everyday moments. Acts 17, verse 28. It says, for in Him we move, we live, we move, and exist. God is present everywhere we're at. He's present at work. He's present in that mess that most of y'all have to drive in every morning and every afternoon. He's present in the kitchen when your wife is burning supper. He's present in at the doctor's office. During those awkward conversations, God is present. Some people act like God is only on duty from 10 a.m. till noon on Sunday. Then Monday through Saturday, He is apparently out of the office. That's not how it works. God is present when you're paying the bills, when you're washing the dishes, when you're burning that supper, when you're sitting silent. He is present. So awareness turns ordinary moments into holy moments. God's presence is comforting, but it's also refining. Let's go back to Psalms 139. It doesn't just talk about God being everywhere. It talks about God knowing everything too. David says in the last part of verse 2, he says, you know my thoughts, even when I am far away. Now that's a scary thought, for God to know our thoughts. It should be humbling thought. It should be disciplining thought. It should be something that to make you think about. You know my thoughts even when I am far away. That'll make us straighten up just a little bit, won't it? You see, some Christians believe or behave like God can see their actions, but not their motives. They think God is some spiritual security camera, but with just video only, no audio. We say, well, at least I didn't say it. God says, I heard your thoughts. That awareness changes how we live. Not because we're afraid, but because we are loved so much to remain unchanged. When we realize God is present, we stop performing. We stop performing. We start repenting faster. We forgive quicker. And we listen more closely. Because God is not just around us. He's working through us. When we know God is present, anxiety loses its power, loses its grip. We stop asking what if and start trusting even if. You see, Isaiah 26, verse 3 says, you will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. You see, peace doesn't come from control. We don't have to have control to have peace. It comes from awareness. It's like worrying too much. Worrying too much is like rocking in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere, doesn't it? But awareness says God is already here. I can rest. So how do we actually live aware of God's presence? We start practicing the presence of God. Well, how do we do that? We don't do it in theory. We do it in practice. Let me give us a few simple habits. Talk to God throughout the day. Talk to Him throughout the day. Not in some formal, sit-down, formal prayer, but in short prayers, quick prayers, but honest prayer. Lord, help me with this conversation that I'm about to have with these people. Lord, give me patience right now. Lord, thank you for that small blessing. Prayer is not an appointment. It's an awareness. Another habit is acknowledge God in ordinary moments. Thank Him for the small things. A parking spot, that counts. I don't care if you do have one of those blue tags on your windshield. I had one the other day and I still had to walk 14 miles. And it gets my billy goat when somebody pulls in one that's got one of those little blue deals on there. And they jump out and they run to the entrance. But I'll leave it at that. I won't say no more. I'd like to. Safe travel. That counts. Thanking Him for those small things. Good coffee. That counts, doesn't it? Peaceful moments. That counts, doesn't it? If you've been around those people and you've heard those people all the time, they're always praising Him for something, or thank God for this, or praise God for that. That's what they're doing. They're giving God thanks for the small things. They're acknowledging Him. So every small acknowledgement trains our heart to recognize His nearness, His closeness. And then we need to learn to pause. Just pause. Turn off the noise. Sit quiet. Let your soul remember that God is right there. He's right there with you. That's what Brother Lawrence, a monk, called it. He called it practicing the presence of God. It means talking to God throughout the day, acknowledging Him in every situation, and living with the awareness that He is near, that He is close. It's not meant to be spooky. It's not meant to be mystical, or it's meant to just be mindful. Mindful that God is right there. God is present in our joy. He's present in our pain. God is present in our failure, in our successes, and He's present in our future. And when we live aware of His presence, fear shrinks, faith grows, worship deepens, life changes. So the next time we feel alone, the next time we feel overwhelmed, the next time we feel unnoticed, remember this truth. God is right here. God is right there beside you. He has always been there. And He will always be there. He's not going anywhere. We don't need more sermons. We don't need more teachings. We don't need a different translation of the Bible or different concordance or anything like that. We just need more awareness. We don't need God to come down. We need to look up. God is present when we're tired. He's present when we're happy. He's present when we're unassured. Or unsure, not that unassure, it's not a word, is it? Unsure. When we're hurting, He's there. When we're praying, He's there. When we're silent, He's there. So the question isn't, is God near? The real question is, are we living like He is? So let's become people who walk slow enough, who listen close enough, and who believe deep enough to live aware of God's presence every single day.